I would like to ask Anila Zaidi, Bob Watson, Daria Lutchenko, and Marco Spinello to the stage as members of the jury for our last conversation. Welcome to the stage. Good morning, good evening, all of that. I'm going to bring something that comes from another part of the evaluations. Even if there is B2B support agreement, one would still prefer to have the docs to troubleshoot. Integration is never a single page, start to end journey, never one person. Everyone has unique knowledge gaps, and they all try to fit it from the docs to get to the integration be completed. However, even if the answer is there in the docs, you still have to find it. Now, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here because you are all big champions for very good documentation. But as of today, if you see AI-augmented search for that answer and use case documentation, what is your expectation? And I'm going to ask Daria first.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Laura. So for me, the AI-augmented search part, I would say the expectation is that it should produce answers instead of a list of links like we are used to getting from like a usual search. And I think also elaborating on some previous comments that were made here, like the developers and just maybe non-developers just want something to copy and paste. I think also one of the assumptions is that AI-augmented search functionalities would be able to provide you with the answer. If it's like, it can be a step-by-step guide, or it can be a code snippet that is derived from what you asked in the search query. Another point is maybe another thing like that I personally encountered is, again, kind of like circling back to accessibility, is I would expect from the AI's augmented search to be using the documentation portal, developer portal as the knowledge base to prevent hallucinations, and also to the portal itself to be accessible so that the AI can read it and analyze the information that is there. So for example, if you have like a table with icons that have like I don't know, check mark and cross, that there is an alt text associated with the icons, and then AI can read those alt texts and can analyze what is happening on the table. So some things, I would say some kind of solutions that are very obvious for us right now, with keeping in mind that our main audience is people, might not be as obvious and kind of streamlined when we are taking consideration that our other audience is AI bots. So like those few things I would like to mention.
Mm-hmm. It came up several times that although alt text is the first thing that anyone who thought about accessibility thinks of, like alt text, alt text, alt text, it is still the most hurting point, ironically. It's still missing.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Daria. And I'm going to ask Anila, what do you expect when you see, AI-augmented search? What do you expect to get?
Hi, first of all. Hi, everyone. My experience, it's becoming more common, so I get excited when I see it on sites. And my initial thoughts are, when I do see it, is, wow, they must have a lot of faith in their documentation, because the language learning models, the output of it is only as good as the input. My hope as a tech writer is that the output that it generates using the AI search is that the ingested documentation is up to date and current and accurate. So it's kind of with mixed feelings when I see the AI search on some of the sites, because on one hand, I'm excited. On the other hand, I'm like, is it really accurate? Can I really fully trust this? So maybe my hesitation will wane the more I see it. So that's my experience. But as far as use cases, I think, in my opinion, that's the baseline now. I wish it, and I think I believe it is becoming the baseline on the developer sites, that more sites are including use cases front and center. Before, in years past, it was often buried underneath a lot of how-to guides or just workflows, like really far down in the information architecture. But I'm noticing that companies are surfacing it, and often even just presenting it straight from the landing page, which is very nice. So right away, I know how to use the software, or why I would want to use the software.
Imagine if one day we will see lifestyle advertisement placements in a movie for APIs. But now we do like. Bob, may I ask you next? You have seen search going a long way. When you see AI augmented search today, what do you expect to get?
Yeah, no, this is a great question, because I think ideally, if we take this out to the perfect implementation, it'll be like indoor plumbing, where it's just there, it just works, it doesn't make a mess, it does what you expect it to do. I don't think we're there yet, but I mean that's how I expect the AI to appear, is in that we don't see it. So like for some examples is it'll know what you're doing based on however it figures that out, so that it can provide you answers in the context that you're working. If you're if you're developing and asking a question that would be answered with source code, it would give you a source code example. If you're asking a question that would be answered by a tutorial, to explain it a little bit further, it would give you a tutorial. Do the work for you that you would otherwise have to sort out how to make a code sample into a tutorial, or make sense out of a tutorial and take the code samples and things like that. It should know the detail level of by how you phrase. I don't know enough about it to tell how it should work, but I would like it to know that I'm a new user and to explain things at the new user level, or I'm an experienced developer and explain things in a succinct, perhaps almost abbreviated format that will make sense to me, but not to the new user. It should know how to process the output. It should know why I'm asking it a question, and give me the answer that would kind of address that, as opposed to make me work for it. And it's unfortunate that we get to see it in its sort of version 0.5 state of reliability, because now we're starting off with an environment of distrust, because it's not ready for prime time in the sense of trustworthiness. And so ideally the implementation will be 100% reliable, so we don't have to say, maybe I better double check that. It's like, well, what's the point of that if I have to go and do more work? It's not, is it really helping me? But it should say, here's the answer, and I should be able to have faith in that. So I think there's a long road to go before we get there, but I think having the end goal in sight is worthwhile, and knowing how we're making progress towards that.
Thank you. Marco, I see you nodding, and I can see that you also have opinions on this. What do you expect, and what would you advocate towards?
Yes. Hi, Laura. Thank you. I'm piggybacking on Bob's reply. I'm lazy, so I expect room service. I expect an AI that if I interrogate, or if I access knowledge through an AI, I don't want to go through the docs. I don't want to bother checking things in the docs. That's the whole point of me using the AI, saving time and skipping, taking a shortcut. So, for example, but right now I'm writing docs about integration. So I'm using Claude a lot to help me with the code examples. There are some missing examples that I was guaranteed were there. So I asked Claude, and they look legit enough. So I'm just putting them there. And when I make my merge request on GitLab, I'll ask an engineer to review them. But I feel that this is what I want from an AI. I want to be able to ask targeted questions using natural language in a way that is unambiguous, because it's easy to understand for machine, and I want to get accurate and reliable information. Yeah, and that depends on the data that you train the model on. So you go back to what also Anila said, that if garbage in, garbage out. We need to start producing good content for machines, so that humans can get the gist out of it without the fluff.
Quoting from someone, as a user, I can forgive not so good UI, but I cannot forget bad UX or unclear information architecture. So my favorite question, what, in your experience, drives a portal user completely batty? And I'm going to ask Marco first.
I make the designers I work with cry here, because I'm like, ugly that works is fine. It doesn't need to be pretty. And they say, no, you're a terrible person. And when I mean ugly that works, it means that it needs to have proper UX flows. It needs to provide user journeys. It need to be, it can be pretty rough on the edges in terms of aesthetic qualities and refinement, but it needs to be intuitive. It needs to have signage and wayfinding that is clear and, again, unambiguous, to help users find a path. Otherwise, if you leave everything vague or unkempt, you end up having a big meadow without any paths, without anything there, which is beautiful to look at, but you don't know where to go. You need to have a clear path in it that shows a way to go. It doesn't need to be the only way, but it is the safe way for users. And that's pretty much what 90% of people look for. I fall definitely in that group.
What do you think, Anila? What your favorites from the very long list of what makes a DevPortal user go batty?
I'm always shocked the big changes that you get from a site from simple, or the big improvements you get from simple changes, like simple button label changes, making those more clear, making sure that the action events, button clicks lead to the right place, link references are leading to the right places. So as Marco was saying, just the UX journey, just really, it always amazes me how a simple change in navigation labels, button labels, just improve the UX so much. It's wild. So just really simple things. And then I just wish more sites had troubleshooting guides front and center. They're usually buried. Troubleshooting and support, I don't know why they're so often buried. So small changes, big improvements.
In your experience, Daria, what are those small nuances that drives a person mad, but it could be changed so easily?
I wanted to talk about big stuff, to be honest, not small nuances, but like for me, it's two big things is the fragmentation and too much complexity. So as for the fragmentation topic, I mean, you stop your users from doing the self-service. You stop them from doing independent discovery. If the information architecture is fragmented, if they cannot find like nested pages, if there are no breadcrumbs, for example, like a very simple example that came to my mind. I mean, it can be valid if you treat your portal as an FAQ for your support team to send links to when they respond to customers. It can, I think it can be a valid approach, but if you wanted to treat it as a self-service tool, then you should take into account the paths that users take, like how do they find this info. And for the overly complex part, Laura, you mentioned when you were announcing the winner for the best fundability category, that like overly complex documentation will it will disrupt fundability. So maybe like just check it, do some UX UX tests, check it with external users, check it with maybe your internal teams who are not maybe so much do not work with this specific product closely, so that you can shake off that curse of knowledge and just measure the time that it takes them to find the instructions to do a specific task, and then it will be your guidance, I think, on how to improve that information architecture.
Thank you. And I have purposefully made it so that I can ask Bob as last, who has been the guiding saint of the DevPortal Awards from the very beginning. I'm going to tweak this question a little bit for you. Can you, from the top of your head, say some things that were on this drive to batshit crazy list that has been eliminated? Wonder of all wonders, it isn't a problem anymore for the most cases. What are the things that we did overcome as a whole in API documentation?
Yeah, no pressure. No, I think what I don't see so much anymore in the entrance is the is sort of the landing experience. You know, the landing pages are a lot clearer now. It's a lot less. Before some landing pages kind of assumed that you know what they were talking about, whether you did or not, and then just kind of go on talking more about it. And so you're like, wait, what do you do exactly? But nowadays, that seems to be much less common. The navigation paradigms, I think, are a lot easier to follow, or a lot more consistent. And so just the user interface, some of the things that, and I've said this before, and I would imagine this is going to continue to be the case, is sort of, last year's award winners are this year's expectations. And seeing that over time is, well, it's demonstrated in, just the amazing entrance that we had this year. And some of the features from a year or two back, or you see them in more of the documentation. The design, the overall design, is kind of crisper and fresher and more kind of on brand with the companies they're representing. Just the whole kind of a little bit of everything has gone up. From the writing side, I think the authoring systems have improved. We don't see that in our entries, but just kind of watching, kind of peeking behind the curtains when you can. The ability to create those sites is getting easier. It's still a lot of work, but we as technical writers, I think, have more access to features now in generating documentation than we did 3 or 4 years ago, and certainly longer. Go further back. So it's fun. It's been fun to kind of be at have a front row seat to that and watch that evolution of the sites and kind of the raising of the expectations over time. As a not quite lifelong technical writer, but I've been doing it for a while. It's rewarding kind of professionally to see that passion presented in the state of the art for what I've been working on, and what many other dedicated technical writers have been doing as well. So it's like, wow, that's cool. People think this is cool too. So it's been really fun to have a front row seat to that.
And let me call out also loudly what you wrote in the chat. The ultimate goal should be as close to 100% reliable information as possible, so it can be used by all audiences. Thank you for that sentence. Exactly. And I thank you all, also Dan and Michael, for being the jurors this year. You have all done an amazing, amazing, amazing work and a lot of empathy and understanding to see what to really see what you're seeing, and to call out the special new nuances. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next year in the awards program.